Last year, 3 of my friends and I went on a road trip to the Himalayas. It was supposed to be a quick weekend getaway. See the glacier, click a few photos, and head back. But things got delayed. Traffic near the hills was brutal, and by the time we reached the glacier area, it was past 8 p.m. It was freezing. Fog was rolling in, and our GPS showed no hotels nearby. Right before the glacier road, a police officer flagged us down. He looked tired but alert. He asked if we had a hotel reservation. We said no. He paused and said, "You shouldn't go ahead now. It's dangerous after dark. Landslides happen without warning." We asked if there was anywhere to stay nearby. He looked over at the small outpost behind him. "You can crash here for the night," he said. "It's basic, but better than getting stuck in the hills." We were cold and exhausted. We said yes. The station was tiny, old, damp, and freezing inside. There were cracks in the walls and a constant buzzing from an overhead tube light. One of the officers gave us blankets and showed us a dusty side room with 2 broken beds and a rough rug. Then he said something strange. "We'll lock the door from outside. Don't try to leave until morning. Trust me." We hesitated, but he didn't explain. He just said, "It's better that way." Once the heavy metal door shut, we heard the click of a padlock. The room was quiet, but something felt off. That's when we noticed there were 3 men in a holding cell down the hallway. They weren't loud. They weren't even moving much, just sitting silently, staring at the floor. One of my friends, Veer, laughed a little and said, "Well, at least we've got company." But something about the way those prisoners looked, it wasn't boredom, it was fear. Pure, quiet fear. Later that night, I woke up. My back felt cold, like something had touched it. I sat up and immediately felt this weird sensation, like something had just crawled across my blanket. My phone was dead. I whispered to Arjun to give me his, but he didn't move. I reached around, feeling the floor. Nothing. Maybe I was just imagining things. Then a loud thump. Samir screamed. We all shot up. He pointed toward the far wall, shaking. I grabbed Arjun's phone and turned on the flashlight. That's when we saw it, a huge centipede. About a foot long, dark brown, with dozens of twitching legs and long antennae. It moved fast across the rug and disappeared behind the bathroom door. We were stunned. I got up to find something to hit it with, but then we heard it. Not one sound, multiple, from inside the walls. We pulled the rug away and found 3 more centipedes, one under an old shoe, another crawling into a crack in the concrete floor. It was disgusting. We cleaned everything, stuffed clothes in the cracks, and sat together in a corner. Then came the worst moment. Around 3 a.m., we heard scratching, close. We looked at the door. One of those massive centipedes was sitting right under it, blocking the gap. It wasn't moving, just sitting there. Its antennae were pressed against the bottom of the door like it knew we were inside. None of us dared to move. No one spoke. Then from the hallway we heard a prisoner whisper. His voice was shaky. "They don't like light, but they always come out after 2. It's the pipes. They crawl up from under the station." We didn't respond, just stared at the door. Then we heard the prisoner say something else, barely audible. "Sometimes they get in the mouth." Samir gagged. After a few long minutes, the centipede finally crawled away, disappearing through the hallway toward the holding cells. We tried to get out, but the door was still locked. We banged on it, shouted, but no one came. By then it was past 4 a.m. We heard scratching in the ceiling, something skittering above us. Arjun climbed up on a chair and found a loose tile in the ceiling. He pushed it aside and shone the flashlight in. He froze. "All of you," he whispered. "Back away, now." We asked what he saw. He didn't answer. He just said, "Close the vents. Stuff the towels under the door. Don't sleep." We did exactly that. When the police returned at 6 a.m. and unlocked the door, they acted like nothing had happened. "Hope you got some rest," one officer said with a smile. "Quiet place, right?" None of us replied. We picked up our stuff and walked out in silence. About an hour down the road, we stopped at a chai shop. The man behind the counter was older, maybe in his 60s. We told him casually that we had stayed at the Outpost last night. He looked at us, then said something I still remember clearly. "That station shouldn't even be open. It was built over a damaged water tunnel, flooded from below. Locals say something breeds in the damp there. You ever wonder why they lock the doors from outside?" We left without finishing our tea. We haven't spoken about that night much since. Not to family, not even to each other. But sometimes if I'm lying alone at night in a quiet room, I still think I hear it. And I check under my bed, just in case. It happened back in 2018. I was heading home from university one night, driving alone through the empty roads of the city. Everything felt normal, peaceful even. I was tired but in a good mood. Windows half open, the cool night air hitting my face. I stopped at a petrol station to fill the tank of my car. That's when things took a terrifying turn. There was a police van parked just outside the station. Not unusual, right? But for some reason, it felt off, like it didn't belong there. I parked my car and walked toward the small shop to grab a drink. As I walked in, I noticed a man standing near the counter. He was wearing a police uniform. He had a huge build, sunglasses, at night, and was holding a can in his hand, staring at it like he was trying to read something that wasn't there. Something about him gave me a weird feeling. He didn't even blink, just stared. Trying to lighten the mood, I joked, "Hey officer, you know it's night, right? Maybe the pressure of the job made you forget to take those off." He didn't laugh. He didn't even smile. He just tilted his head slightly toward me, like he heard me, and then went right back to looking at the can. Something about his silence, his stillness, gave me chills. There was no emotion on his face, no movement, just cold energy. I grabbed a bottle of Sprite and sat down inside the shop to drink it, trying to shake off that strange feeling. It was just me, the shopkeeper, and that cop. I looked outside at the police van. It was shaking. Just a little. Just enough to make me pause. I thought maybe someone was inside. Maybe another cop. Or maybe someone being arrested. Curious, I stepped out and slowly walked over to the van to look through the window. That was a mistake. The man in uniform rushed outside, grabbed me by the arm, and started beating me with a police stick. Hard. Over and over. I was in shock. It didn't feel like a warning. It felt like rage. Like he was trying to stop me from seeing something. My body was hurting, but my brain was even more confused. Something wasn't right. The shopkeeper came running, shouting at the cop to stop. He dragged me away, but the so-called officer didn't chase us. He just stood there, breathing heavily, gripping the stick, eyes covered behind those dark glasses. My whole body ached, but that's when I heard something else. A voice. A boy's voice, weak, calling out from inside the van. The man snapped his head back toward the vehicle and rushed to the back. He opened the door and we heard loud slapping sounds. He was hitting someone. And then, silence. The voice stopped. I was frozen. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. My heart was pounding so fast I thought I might pass out. My mouth was dry. My brain was screaming, "This isn't normal." And then I heard it. The cold, metallic click of a gun being loaded. I realized something horrifying. This man might not even be a cop. He wasn't wearing a badge. No radio, no partner. He was standing at the back of the van, out of sight, holding a gun. And now, I was certain this wasn't a police officer at all. I stepped back and called the actual police with trembling hands. My voice was shaking as I told them what happened. Within minutes, a real patrol arrived. They tackled the man, wrestled the gun away from him, and opened the back of the van. What they found made my stomach turn. A young, real police officer, tied up, bruised, terrified, gagged. The man in the fake uniform had kidnapped him. He was a drug smuggler wearing a stolen uniform, using the van as a trap. That night, he was planning to make sure no one found out. If I hadn't looked through that window, he might have gotten away with it. Or worse, it's been years since then. But I still see his face. The way he stood so still, those sunglasses hiding something evil behind them, the shaking van, the voice that faded into silence, and that gun. Every time I stop at a petrol station late at night, I feel it again. That same fear, that same pressure in my chest. Because that night, I learned something terrifying. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it wears a uniform.